Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. The past is a strange place. It's full of kings who die because of cookware, priests who bleed for seasonal branding, and global superpowers discovering that humanitarian intervention and public relations rarely travel in the same carry-on bag. Today we explore March 24th, a day where religion gets messy, monarchs get unlucky, empires get dramatic, and humanity once again proves that we are incredibly innovative when trying to solve problems we created ourselves. Segment 1, Blood, Faith, and Ritual Theater. Ancient Rome celebrated March 24th with something called the Day of Blood, which is exactly the kind of holiday you invent when brunch reservations are already taken. The festival honored Cybele and Attis, featuring priests whipping themselves into ecstatic states, and in some cases, making permanent life choices that definitely did not include a customer satisfaction survey afterward. Rome loved importing gods the way tech companies import productivity apps, hoping one of them would fix the bugs in society. The irony is that Rome's hyper-masculine empire officially sponsored a ritual where priests wore makeup, jewelry, and bright robes while rejecting traditional gender norms. Imagine the Roman Senate approving funding for a festival that basically said, yes, empire is collapsing, but at least the vibes are inclusive. The emotional roller coaster is incredible. March 24th is blood, grief, ritual sacrifice, and existential screaming. Then, March 25th is joy, feasting, and celebration. It's basically the original version of posting a cryptic breakup message on social media and then uploading vacation photos 12 hours later. Segment 2, Kings, Accidents, and Historical Butterfingers. King Richard the Lionheart survived crusades, naval disasters, and medieval political drama, only to be taken out by a guy with a crossbow and what might be history's most dangerous frying pan cameo. Richard literally laughed at a defender using cookware as armor, which proves that hubris has always been humanity's favorite performance-enhancing drug. The crossbow bolt that hit him didn't just end a king's life. It indirectly led to the Magna Carta, meaning constitutional law partially exists because one medieval king could not stop roasting someone's cookware choices. History is full of dramatic turning points, but this one feels like the universe saying, careful, your biography is about to include kitchen utensils. It reminds us that history is less like a grand chess match and more like a group chat where someone accidentally sends the wrong message and changes the entire tone forever. Segment 3, Empires, Intellectuals, and Extremely Awkward Networking. In 1401, Timur the Conqueror was busy building pyramids of skulls, which is generally considered a negative Yelp review for city infrastructure. Meanwhile, historian Ibn Khaldun literally climbed down a rope from Damascus to negotiate with the man who was actively burning the city. Imagine scheduling a coffee meeting with someone who just stacked 20,000 skulls outside town as a motivational poster. Yet, the two men bonded over philosophy, geography, and noodle dishes, proving that intellectual curiosity can survive even when everything else is on fire. Timur wanted detailed descriptions of North Africa so vivid he could picture them, which is essentially the medieval version of asking someone to send Google Street View links. The strange irony is that one of history's most brutal conquerors also wanted a book club recommendation. It turns out even warlords appreciate a good reading list, preferably one that does not include their own autobiography written by terrified witnesses. Segment 4, Succession Drama and Political Fan Fiction. Queen Elizabeth I died without naming an heir, which is basically the royal version of not leaving your Wi-Fi password behind. Her advisors quietly arranged for James VI of Scotland to take the throne, uniting England and Scotland and laying the groundwork for the United Kingdom. For centuries, historians believed Elizabeth dramatically endorsed James on her deathbed, only to discover modern spectral imaging revealed that the original historical manuscript had basically been edited like a Wikipedia page during a heated argument. The official biography turned into Tudor fan fiction. Imagine dying and then your PR team writes your final line for you 400 years later. The real lesson here is that even in the 1600s, people understood the importance of controlling the narrative. History is written by the victors, but apparently edited by the interns. Segment 5. Revolutionary complaints and roommate disputes. The Quartering Act forced American colonists to house British soldiers in inns and public buildings, which immediately triggered the most passive-aggressive roommate conflict in history. Nothing radicalizes a population faster than unexpected house guests who bring muskets and opinions about tea taxes. Colonists interpreted the policy as a violation of rights, even though technically the soldiers were not supposed to move directly into private homes. But once people imagined soldiers eating your food and using your fireplace, the revolution basically schedules itself. The Third Amendment eventually banned this practice, proving that Americans once considered forced roommates a constitutional crisis, which makes modern rent prices feel like a continuation of the same theme. Segment 6, Science, Germs, and the End of Vampire Medical Theory. In 1882, Robert Koch identified the bacterium responsible for tuberculosis, proving disease came from microscopic organisms rather than bad air or family curses. Before germ theory, people believed tuberculosis victims were sometimes vampires, which is an unfortunate misdiagnosis that probably complicated bedside manners. Koch performed hundreds of failed experiments before isolating the bacteria, showing that scientific progress is basically stubbornness wearing a lab coat. His discovery changed medicine forever, replacing superstition with evidence and giving humanity a fighting chance against one of history's deadliest diseases. The irony is that the scientist who eliminated vampire panic probably saved more lives than any vampire hunter in fiction. Segment 7. Escapes, engineering, and creative problem-solving under pressure. The Great Escape from Stalag Luft III in 1944 involved prisoners building elaborate tunnels with ventilation systems made from milk cans and secret sand dispersal operations carried out by men nicknamed penguins. The tunnel even had railway tracks with station names, because nothing says determination like installing a subway system beneath a prison camp. 76 prisoners escaped, but most were recaptured, and 50 were executed, reminding us that even brilliant engineering cannot overcome the cruelty of authoritarian regimes. Still, the ingenuity of the prisoners demonstrated that hope often survives in the most controlled environments, especially when people are willing to collaborate, innovate, and apparently run an underground transportation authority. Segment 8. Voices of Conscience and the Cost of Speaking Out. Archbishop Oscar Romero spoke openly against violence in El Salvador and was assassinated while delivering Mass, a tragic reminder that telling the truth can be considered a revolutionary act. His death intensified a civil conflict that cost tens of thousands of lives, but his message endured far beyond the regime that tried to silence him. History repeatedly shows that silencing critics rarely silences ideas. It simply amplifies them. Romero's legacy reminds us that courage is often most visible when the risks are highest, and that moral authority can outlive political power. Segment 9. Oil, Environment, and Catastrophic Oops Moments. The Exxon Valdez oil spill demonstrated how a chain of human errors can create ecological disasters affecting thousands of miles of coastline. The accident led to major environmental reforms and stricter shipping regulations, proving once again that humanity often learns best immediately after causing irreversible damage. 11 million gallons of oil spilled because of fatigue, poor oversight, and broken radar equipment, which sounds less like an accident and more like a group project where nobody read the instructions. Environmental policy often evolves through tragedy, which is not an ideal research method, but remains historically consistent. Segment 10. Humanitarian War and the Complexity of Doing Good with Bombs. NATO's 1999 bombing campaign in Yugoslavia marked the first time the alliance attacked a sovereign nation without UN approval, raising questions about how the international community balances sovereignty with human rights. The intervention aimed to stop ethnic cleansing, but also sparked debate about whether military force can truly deliver humanitarian outcomes. History repeatedly demonstrates that good intentions combined with airstrikes tend to produce complicated footnotes. The campaign ultimately reshaped international law discussions and demonstrated that modern warfare increasingly involves narratives as much as territory. In conclusion, March 24th reminds us that history is not a neat timeline of progress, but a chaotic anthology of human experiments, some noble, some tragic, and some involving frying pans. The past is not just a record of events. It is a reminder that humanity constantly oscillates between wisdom and absolute nonsense, often on the same day.